The rain had turned the streets into mirrors, reflecting the flashing headlights of passing cars and the weary faces of people rushing home. At a nearly empty bus stop, one small act of kindness was about to change 2 lives forever. A woman who had every reason to say no chose instead to trust a complete stranger. She had no idea that the phone she handed over for just one call would become the beginning of a miracle no one could have imagined. Sometimes, the greatest blessings arrive quietly, disguised as moments most people would walk away from. Before we begin this unforgettable story, if you believe kindness still has the power to change the world and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Beyond the Verdict for more inspiring stories that remind us humanity is still alive. On a bright spring afternoon, the city was alive with the sound of traffic, children laughing in nearby parks, and buses stopping every few minutes along the busy avenue. 41-year-old Marcella Brooks stood beneath the shade of the bus shelter, holding a reusable shopping bag filled with groceries she had carefully purchased after comparing prices at 3 different stores. Every dollar mattered. Life had never been easy for Marcella. She worked long hours as a nursing assistant at a local rehabilitation center, often taking extra shifts just to cover rent, utilities, and the medical bills left behind after caring for her late mother. Her dreams had slowly been replaced by responsibilities, yet she refused to let hardship steal her compassion. People in her neighborhood knew Marcella as someone who always smiled first, even on difficult days. She volunteered at the community pantry twice a month, helped elderly neighbors carry groceries, and quietly paid for children's school lunches whenever she could. She never expected recognition. She simply believed that if everyone did one small good thing each day, the world would become a little less heavy for someone else. As she waited for the afternoon bus, she noticed an elderly woman sitting alone on the bench. The woman looked exhausted, her silver hair slightly untidy, and her hands trembled as she searched through an old handbag. Her eyes were filled with panic rather than confusion. She looked around desperately before finally gathering enough courage to approach Marcella. The woman explained that she had lost her phone while traveling across town for an important appointment. She needed to make one urgent call to her son because she had become stranded with no way to contact anyone. She promised it would only take a minute. Many people would have hesitated. Stories of phone theft and scams had become common. Marcella herself had heard countless warnings from co-workers about trusting strangers. Yet as she looked into the elderly woman's frightened eyes, she saw something deeper than fear. She saw loneliness. Without asking unnecessary questions, Marcella unlocked her phone and gently handed it over. The elderly woman made the call, speaking briefly before thanking Marcella over and over again. Within minutes, a dark sedan arrived. A middle-aged man stepped out, wrapped his mother in a relieved embrace, and repeatedly thanked Marcella for helping when no one else had stopped. Embarrassed by the attention, Marcella simply smiled, wished them well, and boarded her bus as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Life returned to normal almost immediately. Days turned into weeks. Marcella continued working double shifts, riding the same buses, and stretching every paycheck as far as possible. One afternoon, her landlord informed tenants that rent would increase the following month. At the rehabilitation center, budget cuts reduced overtime hours. Suddenly, the careful financial balance she had maintained for years began to collapse. She spent sleepless nights calculating expenses, wondering which bills could wait another week. She considered taking a third part-time job, even though exhaustion already followed her everywhere. Still, she refused to complain. She reminded herself that many people carried burdens heavier than her own. Nearly 6 weeks after the encounter at the bus stop, an elegant envelope arrived in her mailbox. It carried no company logo she recognized, only her name printed neatly across the front. Assuming it was another bill, she placed it on the kitchen counter and didn't open it until later that evening. Inside was a handwritten letter. The letter came from the elderly woman she had helped. Her name was Eleanor Whitcomb. Eleanor explained that the brief phone call had allowed her son to reach her just moments before she suffered a serious medical emergency brought on by complications from heart disease. Had she remained alone much longer, doctors believed she might never have survived. Eleanor's son, Nathan Whitcomb, owned one of the country's largest family investment companies. Despite their financial success, Nathan wrote that he had spent years searching for genuine kindness in a world where people often expected something in return. His mother had spoken about Marcella every single day since the incident. Marcella smiled warmly as she finished reading, believing the letter itself was already more than enough reward. Then another envelope slipped onto the floor. Inside was a certified check. Her hands froze. The amount written across the paper was $2,500,000. For several long minutes, Marcella couldn't breathe. She checked the numbers again and again, convinced there had been some mistake. She called the number listed in the letter, expecting someone to apologize for a printing error. Instead, Nathan personally confirmed every word. The gift carried no conditions. No contracts. No publicity campaign. His family simply wanted to honor the woman whose compassion had saved his mother's life. Even after the funds cleared, Marcella struggled to believe the miracle was real. Yet what happened next became even more inspiring. Instead of purchasing luxury cars or expensive vacations, Marcella quietly paid off every debt she owed. She bought a modest home with a large front porch where neighborhood children often gathered after school. She established scholarships for nursing students from low-income families who dreamed of helping others but couldn't afford tuition. She funded a community health clinic that provided free screenings for elderly residents who often skipped doctor visits because they couldn't afford transportation or insurance. She expanded the local food pantry, ensuring no family would go hungry during difficult seasons. She donated computers to underfunded schools and created emergency assistance funds for single parents facing unexpected hardships. People began calling her generous, but Marcella insisted nothing about her heart had changed. She simply had greater resources to continue doing what she had always believed was right. The story eventually reached local news stations. Reporters expected dramatic interviews about sudden wealth. Instead, they found a humble woman who spoke only about kindness, reminding viewers that every life-changing moment begins with an ordinary decision. She often reflected on that afternoon at the bus stop. If fear had controlled her actions, Eleanor might never have reached her son. 1 minute of trust had echoed across countless lives, touching people Marcella would never even meet. As years passed, hundreds of students graduated because of scholarships she established. Thousands of patients received healthcare they otherwise could not afford. Families found hope during their darkest moments because one woman refused to ignore another person's desperate need. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, leave a heartfelt comment below, and subscribe to Beyond the Verdict. Your support helps us continue bringing stories that remind the world compassion still matters. Special request, comment below with the words, "Kindness always comes back," if you believe even the smallest act of compassion can change someone's life forever. Marcella Brooks never expected a reward when she offered her phone to a stranger. She simply chose kindness over suspicion, hope over fear, and compassion over convenience. While most people remember the check for $2.5 million, those who truly understand her story realize the greatest gift was never the money. The real miracle was discovering that goodness still exists, that one selfless choice can ripple through generations, and that the heart willing to help without expecting anything in return is often the heart destined to change the world. Sometimes, the richest people are not those with the largest bank accounts, but those whose kindness leaves a legacy that money alone could never buy. And perhaps today, somewhere nearby, someone is waiting for one small act of kindness that could change everything.